Adaptive challenges are the hardest challenges to address. You can't just PD it away. You can't just buy a new curriculum. You can't just set a new rule in motion and it's all done. So what do you do? How do you address this? We are going to talk about that today. And there is a free worksheet that I have to help you diagnose it. We're going to talk about diagnosis, but we're also going to talk about what do you do? Like once you know you have one, what do you actually do to move forward, to actually address the problems? Well, it's not a problem for another decade. Let's get right into it. Look familiar to you. I've done a video on it before. I've done podcasts on it, blog posts on it. Identifying avoidance is a way to identify that you have an adaptive challenge, unearthing the things that must not be named, the great activity, competing commitments. There's also value action alignment. There's all sorts of things. But I want to zoom into this blog post that I wrote a while ago, actually. And so I want to look at, not only is my school facing an adaptive challenge, it kind of goes through all those pieces, it links to the workbook, but now what do I do about it, right? And so this piece right here, asking each stakeholder, right? Listening. I love the book Street Data. The Street Data Pod is amazing. So that's a new podcast with Astine Mumby and Shane Safir. It is so good. I highly recommend it. But thinking about my approach being shared leadership, and then also there's of like the idea of a deep listening to multiple stakeholders, particularly those at the margins, and having strategies to do that is really critical. So in adaptive leadership language, this is diagnosing the political landscape. So asking stakeholders so that we get the right information to diagnose the landscape. How are you affected by the challenge and or proposed solution? So we're facing resistance to a challenge. Instead of circumventing it or getting people to buy into our vision, how do we co-create that vision? How do we lead together? So first we need to know, how are you being affected? And this might not even be how you see them being affected, but how are you perceiving yourself to be affected? What are your desired outcomes? So let's be clear here, because sometimes we just don't say things, right? Unearthing the things that must not be named, right? That's going back to this one, right? That is one of the ways that we identify, something is not being said here. So let's be honest. What are your desired outcomes? Because it might be, I want to work less, right? It might be, I want to have more time for my family. It might be things that we don't actually see. And not that we're trying to put a value judgment on it, but we want to get it out in the open. What are your core values, right? How did they come to bear in this scenario? Maybe you see a value violation here, and that is really important to name and to work through. And maybe we are going in the wrong direction because we don't have a value alignment as a larger organization. What are your loyalties? So sure, your loyalty to your stakeholder group probably, but also your hidden loyalties. You might not even realize you have them, right? You're maintaining your comfort perhaps. Maintaining white comfortability is huge when we're thinking about equity initiatives or anti-racist initiatives. And also, what are you afraid of losing? Again, remember this idea of resistance as loss in the adaptive leadership literature. So I'm losing time. I'm losing control. Think about the other YouTube video that I did about base needs, right? That 4-letter acronym that's huge to addressing conflict and seeing things differently. Belonging, autonomy, survival, enjoyment, right? Those 4 base needs are huge. What do they perceive they are losing? And let's address that. And let's maybe find another opportunity for them to have one of those base needs that they feel like they're losing through this change in another way, or even within this change by adapting what the change will be. Go do the thing and then tell me how it went. Tell me your success stories. I'd love to feature you on the podcast, on a YouTube series in the future perhaps, but tell me, how did you diagnose the political landscape and how did you move forward so you no longer have this adaptive challenge as an issue? You have finally vanquished it. I want to know. Let me share your story. Thank you so much.